All right, y'all. As I'm going through these recordings, I have no clue what's next now. He tells me to rest, and then eventually the Holy Spirit will lead me to the next topic. This is different. I'm so eager to get everything out, and I tend to rush through things when I have an idea, and I'm learning through this to be patient and how to rest and to go according to God's timing instead of my own. It's really cool. It's also killing any remnants of any type of vanity or pride or impatience within me. I'll tell you what. Um, I partnered with the Holy Spirit before and felt his promptings, but doing these recordings, it's like a whole new experience. It's a whole new level of seeking his guidance. He's really leading me through it and telling me what to say a lot of times. I really have to lean into him. It is my testimony, my past, but God has purged a lot of my past, and I don't remember a lot of things or what I'm supposed to say. So it's really neat how the Holy Spirit has my back and he's guiding me through it. Um, I don't like putting myself out there. I think I said that maybe at the beginning. I didn't want to do this, but it's bringing me closer to the Lord in this process, and hopefully it touches at least one person. It'll make it all worth it, right? So I wanted to delete my last video. Mega Church was the name of it, and re-record it because the sound was so low, and I felt I really didn't explain enough about my actual experience with the Mega Church. But when I got ready to take it down, I heard, don't. Sometimes when the Lord tells me not to do something, I hear like one word, and usually I see it in all caps. I don't know how to explain that, but that's what happened this time. So I was obedient and I left the video up. Um, so I'm hoping because he told me to leave it up, maybe that'll touch somebody, or something I said will help someone. I've talked previously about what we're going to be discussing today, but I wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive, or I'm supposed to rather. And that's on my substance abuse, my past substance abuse. Um, I drank alcohol. I was addicted to cigarettes, marijuana, and ecstasy for a while. I tried cocaine once, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the whole idea of like anything up my nose. And I've been around a lot of cocaine users. I've been around a lot of it. So it was the grace of God that prevented me from taking a liking to that. Um, it started with alcohol for me and being around my then boyfriend, and his friends led me to want to try cigarettes as well. It was my freshman year of college. I was on my way to go visit him and decided I was going to buy me a pack of cigarettes. And after that one cigarette, I was hooked. I've told y'all, I was the type when I did something, there was no in between for me. I did it all. I either didn't do it or I did it all the way. And that's what happened with cigarettes. I got addicted. I tried one, I was hooked, and began to go through packs in a week. At one point, I got up to. Um, I'm certain that the Lord saved my lungs because, as much as I smoked, that's the only way I can explain that I'm still in good health, especially after so many years of smoking cigarettes and marijuana on top of that. So I know that was God that saved my lungs because I was a chain smoker. I was. All right, so I want y'all to look this up for yourself, or maybe you know this already, but I did not. It crossed my heart when I was preparing for this to do a quick search on the spiritual history of cigarettes, which led me to the spiritual history of tobacco, is what I actually looked up. And I discovered that tobacco was considered a sacred, divine plant that was used for religious rituals, healings, and connecting with spirits. I I knew that there were spiritual aspects connected to a lot of substances and things we do, but I guess I never thought about tobacco. So that blew my mind. It was used in pipes to seal agreements as offerings and rites of passage. I don't feel like too led to go too deep into this, but that I think that should be enough to at least pique someone's interest to go and research it for yourself, because that was news to me. Um, what I was opening myself up to, combining tobacco with alcohol, ecstasy, and then you add in like the sexual practices and the chants of the secular music, it was just, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I smoked cigarettes for about 13 years before God took the taste from me. I didn't use anything to help wean me off. I just stopped. I just quit cold turkey, I guess as some people would call it. Um, I smoked cigarettes probably just about the entire time I used all other substances, with the exception of alcohol. I started drinking alcohol before I started smoking cigarettes, but everything else I did in conjunction with cigarette smoking. While you're out there looking up tobacco and the spiritual history of tobacco, read up on alcohol as well. I think maybe a little bit more may be known about the spiritual ties to alcohol and marijuana. But just look it up. I mean, just think about the name spirits, right? It's not like it's hidden out there. You see it on the ABC stores if you're anywhere in the South and maybe other areas. But alcohol, certain types are called spirits. It's the name of distilled or hard liquor alcoholic drinks. You're drinking, opening yourself up to spirits. Not you, not you, not you. I was, okay? When you look at the name alcohol, too, I think it comes from the Arabic word, I'm not going to try to say it, but it comes from the Arabic word for the body eating spirit. What in the world? Why would you want to put something into your body that's called a body eating spirit? What is it eating up in your body? Oh my gosh. What in the world? What in the whole world? Oh man, I did so much. I did so much. Remind you, everything I'm saying, I did it. I'm not trying to condemn anybody. I'm just trying to bring awareness and plant seeds. And maybe prevent some people from going through, some of the stuff I went through before it's too late for you. Well, there's never too late, God can save you, but before you go through it, to avoid you having to go through those same things. Um, I'm digressing. At one point, it was believed that the distillation process released spirits of the life force of the fermented liquid. Spirits or the life force of the fermented liquid. I'm going back to the name spirits. Think about that. It's releasing spirits, all right, right into you. Well, nope, not you. I mean, me. It was releasing spirits right into me. God is so good. How many things do we open ourselves up daily and we just have no idea what we're doing, what we're exposing ourselves to just every day? When I go into I stopped going. I would go into the nail salon and never noticed before, but there was an altar with fruit right by the register. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I coming into agreement with? I mean, just every day. He is such a protector. Man, okay. So anyway, at first, I started off as a social drinker, and I only did it around my friends. But eventually, I began to go through bottles of wine and vodka whenever I would be down or like depressed. I can distinctly remember sitting in my bedroom in an apartment in Atlanta and drinking and crying and going through bottles of red wine then. Um, And of course, as with ecstasy, anytime I drank, I had to smoke. I chain smoked a lot. I think I picked up heavy alcohol usage in my early college years, drinking with like my then boyfriend and his friends, just trying to keep up with the guys. And then also many tequila nights where they had discounted tequila in college. I can remember leaving the club numerous times with my boyfriend and arguing. I mean, like loud, just out in public in front of everybody, leaving the club, and then going down the street to the pizza parlor and sitting there like everything is fine, like it didn't just happen. Toxic. Um, my alcohol, well, the alcohol usage, it didn't really stop for me until after the marijuana usage stopped. I cut back, but I always drank at least, let's say at least vodka and wine. I did for the most part. I left college my junior year and I moved away to live with my then boyfriend. And that's when I was introduced to ecstasy. I may have mentioned that before in one of my other videos. I think I did. I remember the first time I tried it, I was sitting in somebody's back seat, and there was this girl beside me, and she was on the phone with her boyfriend, and she just looked like she felt so good, like she was so happy. Mind you, I was a very sad, depressed person at this time, and so I wanted to feel like her. I wanted to feel whatever she was feeling, and so that was the first time I tried ecstasy. Why am I okay? We're gonna call it X because I'm struggling with that word for some reason. That was the first time I tried X, and then I was hooked. I was hooked. Now, mind you, again, I was not a happy camper during those days. I had a lot of mood swings. A lot of what I know now is depression. I didn't know it then. And if you're familiar with ecstasy, you know that it causes the release of serotonin and dopamine, the feel good. It makes you feel really good, and it creates like a euphoric effect that lasts for a few hours, maybe like up to 5, 6 hours, something like that. It's a few hours. But when you come down from that, because you've depleted those serotonin and dopamine levels so much, you experience a really low. Um, I would say it felt similar to the low I experienced from marijuana, but worse. Like anxiety, just depressed, irritated, aggravated. It was a really low. Um, yeah, I think severely depressed and irritable. I don't think those words are doing it justice, but I think that's a good way to describe it. It was not worth the high. It wasn't. It wasn't. But I kept doing it. I was chasing that same euphoric feeling. I wanted that, so I kept doing it. And being in an altered state like that led me to doing things that I wouldn't have done when I was sober. I engaged in activities that were outside of my character, and I associated with people that I wouldn't have associated with if I were sober. My judgment was off when I was high, and also my ability to reason. You got to think, along with the X, it would make you very talkative, or at least I did, and I would talk to people and do things I wouldn't normally do. And then you add alcohol on top of that, and it was just the perfect mix for all kinds of wrongdoing. Um, and I think that combination, because it felt like the alcohol would intensify the high of the X, and so I would engage in like, I'm gonna say it, a lot of I was very promiscuous. Let's say that I was very promiscuous, and a lot of my friends from back home at that time were kind of innocent. They didn't do things like that, and I introduced them to it. I had them doing the same things. I introduced them to X, and that led them to doing other things. I remember back then, my boyfriend and I would throw like small house parties. And there was one young lady that came up with my friends from back home, and I gave her first X pill, and she ended up doing something that I'm sure she wouldn't have done when she was sober. I wasn't in the room when she did it, but a lot of other people were. And when I heard about it, I felt so bad because I knew she did that because of taking that pill, and that was my fault. It was my fault. Man, I was all about a good time. I don't know why my then boyfriend stayed with me. At that time, I would stay out like all night, and he would often catch that downside when I was coming down from those highs. I don't know where he thought I was on those nights either, but he never asked. I mean, I come home at like noon sometimes, but he never asked. He probably had an idea and didn't. I don't know. But I stayed as high as much as possible. I'd go to work during the day, and then at night, on the weekends, sometimes it bled over into the work week, but mostly on the weekends, they were for partying. And that continued on until I moved out of that city, and I couldn't find any good X pills anymore. I think that was God intervening, because if I was able to find them, I wouldn't have stopped. I wouldn't have stopped. I was all about feeling good and just killing those emotions that I was experiencing, um, and silencing my thoughts. That's what I was about. Now, when I lived in Atlanta, I did try doing X again, but I still couldn't find any that would hit and give me that feeling that I got when I initially did it. Thinking back, it was Atlanta, out of all places, so I know it was available there. I know it was, but I couldn't find it. So I'm sure that I'm certain that was the Lord, because I wouldn't have stopped. So when I couldn't find that, I ended up switching to marijuana. I think I told you guys about the time I had the hangover and my boyfriend had let me take a few puffs, and then I was hooked. So I switched to marijuana. That was my drug of choice. I used to say I smoked because I couldn't get addicted, but you can. I did. I got addicted. I think anything, at least for me, anything that alters your mood, when you don't have it or makes you pick it over life-sustaining things like food, it's an addiction. I had a strong craving for marijuana, and when I didn't have it, you knew it because of my mood. I told y'all, I don't know what episode it was in, but I would be in a pleasant, easygoing mood when I was high, but when I didn't have marijuana, I was very irritable and down. It was a noticeable shift. My family thought I was bipolar, but really it was just the marijuana. And then those times where I didn't have it, I stayed high just about all the time. I did. I tried to self-medicate and feel as good as possible. I didn't want the feelings I felt, and so I was constantly trying to smoke to escape them in my mind. I could go without alcohol, but I couldn't go without marijuana and cigarettes. Those were my things, mainly marijuana, the cigarettes. Yeah, both. When you pair that with, at the time I was diagnosed a manic depressive. You have an addict. I was self-medicating, not realizing all of the demons I was opening myself up to, or the harm that I was causing myself mentally or physically. Because when I was high, I couldn't eat. Because when I wasn't high, I couldn't eat. I lost a lot of weight. I thought I was self-medicating, but really I was doing more harm to myself than good during that time. A few years after I moved back to North Carolina from Atlanta, it was quite a few years, because at that time, this time we were living outside of Charlotte, me and my baby. The Lord he just took the taste of marijuana from me. He had me take a big step in faith. And once I did that, the taste completely gone. I kept getting this idea over and over again of something I needed to do. And when I finally did it, the taste was gone. One thing I do want to say with that, just because God delivers us from something, if we put ourselves back in that same situation or around a crowd that engages in that old behavior, we can be tempted again, and in some cases potentially give in to it. And that is what happened to me when I lived outside of Charlotte. I gave in, and when I stopped, the Lord allowed me to get a glimpse of what withdrawals from marijuana felt like that time. The first time I didn't feel any of that. He just took it. I couldn't do anything but lay in bed. I wanted to climb out of my skin. I was so uncomfortable. I just laid there balled up. I had so much anxiety. I can't really explain what I was feeling because I didn't know then. I just knew it was unpleasant, and I didn't want to go through it. It lasted about a week, and I told the Lord, if you just take this away, I will not do it again. I won't do it again. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Oh my gosh, I don't ever want to do that again. So that time he allowed me to get a glimpse of that. And it's still in here. It's still in there as a reminder, you know what I mean? I say all that to say I didn't stop on my own. It was the Lord. When the Lord takes something from you, don't put yourself in an environment where you'll be tempted to do that very same thing again that you were delivered from. That's like somebody who had a problem with lust deciding, I'm going to go back to the strip club, but I'm going to be all right. We're supposed to come out from among the world anyway. You know what I mean? All right. But I do briefly want to mention to y'all, there are spiritual aspects to marijuana usage as well. I think similar to how I ended up using it. I was self-medicating, but then I also started, and I think I told y'all this. If you have been tracking with me this whole time, you saw it in maybe the spirituality episode, probably that one. But I mentioned that I began to use marijuana to help me get into meditative states and to help me with the brain, with the tones I would listen to get into an altered state of mind. And I think similar to that, that yeah, I think that's how it's used, to help connect with spirits and so forth. Just like the tobacco, just research it all, fact check me, fact check me, and allow the Holy Spirit to guide you and confirm and reveal to you what you need to know about it. Um, this what I will say is this life, it's very much spiritual and controlled by the unseen realm, by the spirit realm. When we engage in these activities like the substances that I would use to put me into altered states, we open ourselves up to spirits, and I don't mean the Holy Spirit. There's something to why different cultures and religions use these substances like marijuana as part of their religious practices. It's because it works. It works. They're illegally accessing the spirit realm. Think about it. Let's take my situation, right? Before going to the club, I'd drink alcohol, I'd smoke marijuana, and I'd listen to certain types of music, to get secular music, to get me in the right mood to hit the club. Pre-gaming is what I called it. Or from a spiritual perspective, I was opening myself up doorways to prepare for the spiritual ritual, aka club, that I was about to take part in. Yeah, I think I said that right. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Then I'd go to the club, drink more alcohol. Mind you, at this point, I'm in an altered state from all my pre-gaming, and a spiritual state from the marijuana I'd smoked and the alcohol I'd ingested. Now throw in the secular music. Now I was chanting the lyrics to whatever song was playing in the club while in this altered state. I'm chanting. What does that sound like to you? It won't just clubbing, and it definitely wasn't worship music I was listening to in there. It sounds like a ritual, doesn't it? It's describing a ritual. I was taking part in ritualistic practice. And it wasn't the Holy Spirit I was opening myself up to. I was opening myself up to demonic spirits. Okay? There was this one time I do want to mention. I was in a club in Atlanta, and y'all, I went to the hoodest of the hoods club. This might have been, okay, I guess it's not meant for me to remember the name of it, but I went to the ratchetest clubs. I don't know why. I don't know why, but that's where I went, and I'm digressing. Let me get back to it. So I was in the club one night. No ex. This was after the ex period in my life had passed. I think I'd only had alcohol at that point. I hadn't smoked, I don't think. I remember sitting on the side of the stage, and I blinked, and like everybody's faces were looking directly at me, and this club was packed, but it wasn't their faces, it was demons looking directly at me. And I remember trying to blink a few times to get it to because I thought it was me, but it didn't go away. And my close friend at the time was sitting right beside me, so I turned to look at her, and she's talking, but I see a demon on her face looking directly at me. I'm certain the Lord allowed me to see a glimpse into the spirit realm at that moment. It wasn't enough to get me to stop what I was doing yet, but it had an impact on me. I remember that to this day. Now let that sink in. I'm sure there's someone out there who's experienced something similar to that too. And I just want to say, you are not crazy. The spirit realm is real, okay? What are you partnering with when you take part in these rituals that we call clubbing or partying or anything in that scene, or even just listening to secular music and chanting that stuff over and over again? There's a spirit behind the music that's being created. Just like with movies, what are you partnering with when you chant these things? Do you really know what you're saying? And then you throw the substances on top of that. Just because you deny it or choose not to believe in it doesn't make it any less real. It just means you can be controlled by it. The spirit realm is very real, and these substances that we use, they allow us illegal access to the spirit realm, and then they also allow the spirit realm access to us. And I think I'm going to stop it right there, and I will see you guys soon.